Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1847 AN. Today's date is April 21st, 2019, and the title of the episode is The Narrative Has Shifted, Public Questioning the Central Bank. Now, I want to talk about Trump and how he's draining the swamp. It's taken 2,800 subpoenas, 500 search warrants for Donald Trump to announce the attempt to tie him to Russia interference in the election campaign had failed. He just keeps rolling with the punches. If you're a fan of the president and you want to show your support, you might want to celebrate the news with one of these solid silver or pure gold President Trump Freedom Coins. Go to TrumpCoin2020.com and also make sure to use the code X22 to save $5 off per silver coin, and use the code X22 with gold at the end to save $100 off the gold coin. To get these coins, don't forget to click the link below and use the code X22. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, before I get started, for those people that are celebrating Easter, happy Easter to you. For those people who are celebrating Passover, happy Passover to you. Now, we know that the central bank system, the deep state system that has been alive in this country since 1913, it is all coming to an end. And we can see that the central bank economy, remember, there's two economies happening right now. We have the economy that Trump is creating, bringing back jobs, bringing back manufacturing, bringing back corporations, creating different zones so corporations come in and say, hey, thanks for the tax incentive. I will set up shop here. I will create jobs, which will then in turn create other jobs, because when people have jobs, they have money, they can go spend it on shopping. So stores will pop up, restaurants will pop up, and the entire area will start to grow. And this is many different areas across the country. Remember, a lot of these areas have been hurting for a very long time. But the people's economy, and this is the central bank's economy, this economy is falling apart. It was never designed to last. It was never designed to go 70, 80, 90 years. It's only meant to go between 40 and 50 years. Then it implodes under the weight of debt. That's what we're seeing right now. And if we look at the housing market, this is an indicator on how the central banks blow up bubbles, then try to pop them and bring the system down. If you look at California, New York, Florida, Texas, and all around the country, you can see where these bubbles are, how they created them. And we went over this many, many times before, where we had investment companies buy up thousands upon thousands of houses, keep them off the market, rent them if they could, but make sure they were off the market to drive the prices back up. The central bank lowered interest rates. And this way, more people entered the market. And we saw what happened when they were started to raise interest rates. Things started to fall apart. But if we look out in California, we see there's another problem happening here in all these states that are implementing more and more taxes. Why? Because they're completely bankrupt. This is what happens at the end of a system. They need to implement tax after tax after tax just to stay afloat. Does it work? No. As we can see from past examples. All it does is allow them to kick the can down the street for a little while longer, but while they're kicking the can down the street, what happens? People start to move out of the states. This is what we see happening in New York. We see it happening in California and many other states around the country. Now, the places where they created these bubbles, well, guess what? People are starting to say, you know what? I can't live here anymore. In California, we are seeing county after county where growth has slowed. The population of Silicon Valley, the counties of San Mateo, Santa Clara, and San Francisco, only grew by 9,000 people in the 12-month period from July 1st, 2018, and it grew in all three counties, but it was the smallest growth since 2010. And about 1/5 of the growth rate between 2011 and 2015, which ranged between 45,000 to 51,000. So think about this for a second. The growth in California is declining in many different counties, Los Angeles, the northern counties, the southern counties. And we can see that if we go back in time to 2014 or 2013, 2012, we see that the California population growth was around 320,000 in 2013, or almost like 345,000 in 2014. And then when we hit 2015, it went down to 320, down to 270, down to 190, down to 160. And you can see the trend over time. Now, think about it. California, with the fires that are going on, with people leaving, and the government completely corrupt. Q has been telling us about this for a very long time. We need to go back to post 1368. And Q told us back then to watch California. And I think what is happening out in California, the entire state's going to implode on itself. And we're going to see major, major change out there, not just with voting, not just with what is happening, but I think with the whole government structure, which is completely corrupt. If we go back to post 2621, and Anand says, will voter fraud in California ever be brought to light? Q says, yes, watch California. Was deliberate. So, yes, voter fraud is going to be brought into the light, but Q is saying, watch California, and it's watch it because you want to see how it's falling apart. First, we had the fires. Then we can see that the economy is failing. The housing market is imploding. And you can see they're fighting Trump with walls and everything like that. The entire corrupt system, the economic system, we know they're in a huge amount of debt, is going to implode. And I believe we're watching all of this in real time. We're watching California, New York, and many other states implode because of this economic debt burden. And as the state implodes, guess what happens to the corruption? The corruption is then exposed because people want answers. People want to know why this happened. And I believe the plan here is to allow the central bank system to do what it does best. And what is that? Implode on itself. Remember, Trump has been continually pointing the finger at the Fed, telling everyone it's the Fed fault if they do anything. Now, think about the Fed at this point. If they raise rates, Trump blames them. If they lower rates and the economy falls apart, Trump blames them. There's no place for them to go. They don't have an event that they can blame it on. They're sitting out in the light, and they can't scurry off into the darkness. There's no place to go. And we see that they're having a huge problem with this. Now, what's very interesting is that Trump is trying to bring back the energy market into the United States. We need to be energy independent because once we come off the petrodollar system, guess what? Everything completely changes. And you can see why Trump is trying to make the United States energy independent. And he's trying to bring back coal mining. And we see that Obama-era judges, they're putting the brakes on this. A federal judge in Montana delayed a Trump administration attempt to open up more federal lands to coal mining. U.S. District Court Judge Brian Morris ruled that the Trump administration illegally overturned a moratorium placed on coal mining on federal lands by former President Obama. Now, Obama instated the policy in 2016 as part of his administration's environmental agenda to cut coal usage. Remember, this is because of climate change. And we can see that all of these Obama-era judges are going to try to stop Trump. I mean, they're stopping him on immigration. They're stopping him on energy independence because they're trying to keep everything the way it was. They don't want the United States to be energy independent. They don't want to stop the immigrants, the illegal immigrants coming in from this country. They want to continue on with their goal. Their goal is to bring down the United States. Their goal is to transfer everything out of the United States. Their goal is to bring the United States to its knees economically, militarily, and everything else. And this is what they've been trying to do for a very long time. And as you can see, once the petrodollar is gone, once we are no longer the reserve currency, we will need to be energy independent. We'll also need to have incredible trade deals because the system the deep state, the central bankers have set up will no longer work. Now, what's very interesting is that we can see that the public, they're starting to wake up and they're starting to question the Federal Reserve. Richard Rahn has a column in the Washington Times that raises the question about the Fed's role in modern economy. Here's a little portion of it. Is there a need for the Fed? The Fed has an extensive history of policy mistakes, too long to even summarize here. The problem has been the assumption that the Fed had better information and tools than it had. At times, it was expected to lean against the wind, as if it had information not available to the market or smarter people. In Hayekian terms, it suffered from the pretense of knowledge. At this point, it may be beyond fixing. Several very knowledgeable economists who have held high-level positions at the Fed, including regional bank presidents, have begun discussions about setting up a new commission to rethink the whole idea of the Fed and its activities. The structure that now exists is a jerry-built concoction that has been assembled in bits and pieces for more than a century and increasingly appears to be past its expiration date. You can see right now that people are questioning, do we really need this Fed the way it is? Or should we restructure it? Remember Q's post, the Fed will be restructured. Gold will bring down the Fed. And it looks like there are individuals out there who are already rethinking the whole idea on how the Fed should exist. And we see that Trump is bringing in his own people with completely new ideas. They're completely outside the system to rethink how the Fed should be used. And the way I believe it's going to be used is it's going to be exposed and then it's going to be restructured where the people create their currency and there is no interest attached whatsoever. Larry White and John Stossel also have questioned the role and power of the Federal Reserve. In any event, one thing that should be clear is that the Fed hasn't used its existing powers either wisely or effectively or for the people of the United States. Why? Because the Federal Reserve, they do not report to any government, to any people. They are a corporation outside of the system, outside of the laws, and they only report to themselves or to the Rothschilds. And they use debt to control countries, to control the people. And now the narrative is shifting. People are asking questions. Do we really need the Fed? Look what they've done in the past. Remember, they're out in the light right now. There's no event to hide behind. And when the system comes down, and I'm talking about the central bank system, they will be exposed. The event will call for an audit. And at that time, most likely, we'll have different people in Congress to push the bill to get the audit done. As we can see, this plan is coming together. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.